Y'all, welcome back to Kentucky Fried Wargaming, where two guys who aren't qualified to talk about anything decide to talk about a game with hard math and chance. I'm Joe.
And I'm Jug.
And today we're coming at you with the most topical of topics. We're really trying to get this one out to keep up with the releases. Today, we're going to give you an entire summary of what all was revealed this week during Warhammer Fest 2021. It was 6 days of reveals, and I know for people who aren't, super tied into the hobby or who don't watch sort of all of the articles that come out relentlessly, you might have not been able to keep up with 6 days of live streams and reveal shows and articles. So we thought it might be helpful for us to instead take all of that and condense it down into a little podcast form where we'll tell you sort of what came out. We will organize it for you into understandable groupings rather than sort of like how they spread it out. And also tell you our opinions and where we think this might be going in the future, because some of these things they revealed are definitely going to pave the way for Warhammer for a little while. There were some large reveals here.
And we won't be talking about everything. We're mostly going to be talking about the stuff that we found interesting or we think are the most interesting parts. There's a lot in there, so if you want to go look at it yourself, just go to the Warhammer community page.
Yeah,
it's all there.
They've got 6 articles, one for each day if you want to read every part in detail. Some of the stuff just not our speed, and we will fly past that pretty quickly. But I'm pretty happy there was some stuff that was definitely my speed, and some stuff that has both of us interested for the future of one of the game systems, which I think is just delightful. Also, before we dive into this, I just want to make a quick note. I know that there are some people on the internet who are really, really mad that there weren't more reveals. And I get it, but I just want to take a moment to collectively point at the world around us to give a frame of reference for why there might not have been as many reveals this year as there would have been otherwise. We're recording this the day that they did the final live stream. It is 5/8/2021, and there's very much so still COVID issues all around the world, especially in regards to, shipping and production. And I imagine with everybody working from home, it has also hurt their sort of design process as well as their shipping. So just wanted to throw that out there, that maybe instead of getting angry, we all just be a little cool about it this year, and next year throw enough salt at them to make it look like Sodom and Gomorrah.
And if you want to be mad about it, we can still be mad about it. We're just
trying to give a little bit of reference. Just a tad.
Don't get mad at other people for being excited. How about that? You can be as mad as you want, but let us people that are just really stoked about it be stoked.
I don't think that's too much to ask. I don't think at all. So before we hop into that, though, as always, hobby time and games played. John, I'll kick it to you first. What have you been up to this week?
I built a desk, a new hobby desk. I've been organizing it to suit my hobby needs as I start the great rebasing efforts for rats.
Oh yeah, you're no longer going to be a hobby nomad, drifting from surface to surface with your little tub of paints.
Yeah, I got a tiny little I have a small space, for those who don't know. So I'm using a small 15-inch desk to use for my hobby space for right now, and it's gonna have a lot of rats on it soon. I got a lot of rats to get done.
Yeah, you do, because I need something to shoot for target practice.
Yeah, and I'll be starting Space Marines soon. Our editor and my best friend Seth started Necrons and was able to find an Indominus box. So he's giving me the Space Marine side of that box. And I'm actually going to work on writing lore for them. We're gonna try to make a show chapter. We'll talk about it more later, but it is a handcrafted kind of background for the chapter and all this other stuff, and it's gonna have a color scheme to kind of correlate with the channel. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we have this little Colonel War Guy icon that we just cannot throw to waste, Got to do something.
We have to. Yeah, the Colonel War guy has to become like a figure. When we eventually run narrative games for you guys all to be entertained by, there has to be a Colonel War guy for you guys to know in the continuity of the story.
Otherwise, how will it make any sense?
Yeah. We gotta make these more Barbie stories.
My war dollies are very serious, John. You can't call them Barbies. They're action figures.
Fine, whatever. What about you? What are you working on?
I was bad, John. I was bad. I did bad.
I already know what you did, and you're not bad for it.
I did a bad. So, for people out there, as we talked about on the episode that went up last week, I am a giant fan of dwarves. Love them. Any setting, doesn't matter. I just like dwarves. And in Age of Sigmar, I had tried to play Fire Slayers, and, they're just not really my speed. I didn't know this before I got into the hobby, but it turns out for me, like, the look of the models, and sort of, like, diversity between them is really important for me to, like, enjoy an army, which, who knew? And Fire Slayers, I struggled with that because they all look so similar. However, I still want to play dwarves. And I have, since I kind of set aside the Fire Slayers. And then I read the new Be'lakor book, which there will be an episode up on next week for people who want that summarized. And we thank y'all for watching our tech list video. We didn't think people would like it that much, so it's coming. But minorest spoiler, the Kharadron Overlords are in Be'lakor, and they play a surprisingly large role in the story, and it kind of showed me more of them as a culture and as a faction. And it really kind of tickled my fancy for them steam dwarves. And I kind of went into a lore dive, reading some books and listening to some videos from 2+ Tough. And they really resonated with me. I love the idea of a whole faction who went, yeah, I really don't need gods. I've kind of got a ship, a crew full of my buds, and a Winchester rifle. And that's about all I need to handle anything. So we're just gonna do that, and we're gonna do it in skyboats. So after a whole lot of thinking about it, I went out and I got myself some Kharadron Overlords. I grabbed the Start Collecting box, and I grabbed myself an Indran Master in a dirigible suit, and I spent my week building up that entire box and getting it ready to be painted. I ordered some new paints, some Vallejo metal color paints, which were hard to find. But I did find some and ordered them to get on the way. And I am largely getting ready for painting up these Kharadron Overlords, which I think are going to be a really fun faction to play and, push giant skyboats around the table.
And there's very few models that you'll need to paint. So it's not going to be like the Goblins or the Orcs or Myskaven where you're like, it's a dedication. It's just going to be like a week or two.
Oh yeah, I think it'll actually be pretty quick to paint. Obviously, I have to wait for like all the paints to get here, which is gonna, I'm gonna have to wait there. But largely, once I have the paints here, I don't think it's gonna take me very long at all to paint the foot troops.
No.
The boats are probably gonna take a little bit of time because I'm going to put effort into them. But I think the troops are gonna go pretty quickly, which is very exciting. And I'm enjoying them, and I hope that I'm glad that they are kind of like settling down towards the middle of the competitive chart in terms of power, because that's where I want to be anyway. So it sounds great for me. I also did do some work on the Goblins. Earlier on in the week, I took those 40 Goblins that I built, I glued them all to their bases, I put basing material on all 40 of them, and then I primed all 40 of those Goblins, which God, took longer than I expected with an airbrush, but whatever. So I also primed up 40 Goblins and got basic material on them, which is a time-consuming process, but hey.
I mean, that's great.
Yeah, it is progress. I just sort of like put in my headphones and zenned out for a little while.
Yeah, that's going to be me here soon with this tiny new desk, because I'm just going to be put on, like, I don't know, the community and watch it and play.
Yeah, hammer it out, my dude.
It's like Skaven rebase time, and then I have to actually put basing materials and everything. I haven't even started like basing materials for most of my models. It's gonna be that's gonna be the whole time.
I know. I also just recently started basing models. For a long time, I was like, yeah, I don't care to put anything on the bases. But now that I've been playing a little while, I kind of now care to put stuff on the bases. So I actually just ordered some more of that this morning from Geeks Wargaming, which has some incredible little basing materials. So progress is happening. I'm out of my hobby slump for the most part, which is a good feeling. And I'm hoping that that keeps on going with all of these reveals, because, whoo, buddy, there was some stuff this week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I guess hopping into the show proper, I'll mention we were kind of looking at all the days, and we were at first going to just go through day by day. However, John brought up that it's not exactly the most intuitive, because they the first day was Age of Sigmar, and then the second day was 40k, the third day was novels, the fourth day was box games, the fifth day was 40k again, and then the sixth day was AOS again. And it's not going to be easy to follow. So instead, we have grouped them up into little chunks, and we will take them by sort of game type to make it hopefully a little easier for viewers out there to follow what's coming out for the game systems that they particularly care about. And so first we thought we would start with the box games and the miscellaneous stuff that is coming out. First and foremost, for people out there who are in any Facebook groups, you have probably seen the meme of people talking about crab.
Crab. That kit is going to sell like hotcakes. For those who don't know, there is a Deepkin warband that's coming out, and it's got like a fish on it. It's got a bunch of elves, but it's also got this huge crab, just a crab.
Yeah,
and the internet collectively lost its mind about this crab. Like they're
the
just
battle crab,
everything. Oh, it is great. I want this crab. Like, I want to buy this just to paint this crab. Like,
Yeah, so for people who play Warhammer Underworlds, they get a new warband. But for everybody else, we get a crab. We're going to buy this for a crab. And honestly, I like the fish. It looks kind of like a lionfish to me.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool.
I think that warband specifically would be great for like a diorama. Like if you wanted to make a diorama for like Idna Deepkin, that would be a perfect kit to kind of buy and like make this cool little scene.
Oh yeah, and there's also that tiny eel behind the leader. Like they're beautiful models. I don't play Warhammer Underworld, so I don't really have like a dog in that fight. I can't tell you sort of anything about the mechanics, but I will tell you the models are beautiful. And
I will say like a lot of the Warhammer Underworld's models that have came out are just great looking models. Like they're wonderful. Like, it's a huge fan.
Yeah, they're great. I think they're wonderful kit bash opportunities for people out there, even if you don't play the game. They also dropped some stuff for Necromunda. It's an expansion for House Delac, sort of these crazy techno gangers who work in sort of shadows and mystery. They have some really, really kind of scary looking biotech models, I guess I'd put it, that if you're into, go look up the article. You will not be disappointed in those models themselves. They are gorgeous, but neither one of us play Necromunda, so that one was kind of lost on us. And then the one that, might have been our favorite miscellaneous reveal, or at least it was my favorite miscellaneous reveal. John and I have talked on the podcast before about a novel series called Gaunt's Ghosts, which follows a little troop of Imperial Guard. They are not superhumans, they are not demon-infused, they are not blessed by the Emperor. They are just normal guys with laser guns in a world that is overly large and trying to kill them. And the novels are incredibly well written by Dan Abnett, and he's a wonderful writer, and you can't help but feel for this troop of guardsmen across the novels. And it is maybe one of the most iconic 40k novel series, and we've talked about it here, about how much we've really enjoyed the books that we've read of it. And they revealed that they are going to release models for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all for 6 of the troopers, including Colonel Commissar Ibram Gaunt himself. So you could have 6 of the Taniths first and only in your own model collection. And they're very, very flavorful models that are beautifully sculpted, and they look how I imagine those characters in my head. And I know you can't really do anything with them mechanically on the tabletop, but I'm just really happy that they exist. It's a super, super cool nod to all of the fans of that series.
And I think, and well, I shouldn't say think. I don't have any evidence. I just have a hope and a desire. But it's Guard's gonna get an update soon, and I think it would be really great for them to like keep this kit around and make like a new command squad using this with like a Tanith first and only regiment in the Guard book. That would just be great. Like I would just love that.
Oh, I'd be tickled pink.
You would play that Guard army. Like you would just start Guard
immediately
over again.
Immediately. Yeah. I would give you all of my Death Corps of Krieg, and I would just play Tanith first and only.
Yes. 110%.
Noted. Write it down.
You are now required to if that happens.
Noted. The binding is sealed. Yeah, they're beautiful models. They also revealed a number of novels that are coming out, most of which not really all of that interesting to us. The Siege of Terra is continuing. We all knew that was coming, with the exception of one note that like John wanted to bring up quickly.
Well, I'm interested in most of the novels they announced. I want to like give some of them a shot. I just don't know enough about them to really like speak about them on the show. But I'm definitely interested. Namely, I'm very excited that like the Necron book series got announced, which shows that they're willing to make more than just Imperium books, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But specifically, I'm glad that they're bringing out 2 more anthologies for Warhammer Crime, because I read the No Good Men one, and it was very good. Like it was very good. It was a very good anthology, and it's a lot of stories for the setting of 40K in a smaller format that isn't like big cataclysmic battles. It's like small events, like seemingly innocuous things, but it's not like Necromunda, which is like very cyberpunky. This is still kind of cyberpunky, but it's got some like the normal everyday stuff. It breathes a lot of like life into it, and I'm a huge fan. But there was one box game that, Joe, I don't think you were really too into, but I'm very into.
Yeah, it's not my flavor, but I will admit the models look gorgeous, and they're in Salamander's colors, which is always a bonus. It makes every Space Marine 100% better at hugging.
And that's Aeronautica Imperialis. I was interested in them before because I really like the Guard Marauder and stuff. And I really loved like the plane aesthetic, right? And it's a smaller game, so like it wouldn't be too hard to play.
It's sort of like X-Wing on a board with like hex tiles.
Yeah, and like they released a new plastic Thunderhawk for it. They released like a bunch of like Xiphons for it, and like Storm Eagles. That's great. And then they released like Eldar planes to fight against it. Like I'm way more interested in it now that it's got a lot of support. So that's something I might like tap into to play. I don't know who else is going to play it with me. I might just end up playing by myself or just collecting planes. Who knows?
Hard to say.
Maybe I'll just buy a bunch of them and paint them and then hang them from like strings from my ceiling in my little hobby corner. Like a like a kid.
Like stars stuck to the ceiling, glowing in the dark.
Yeah. But yeah, space plane game. Interested.
I just have this image of you trying to sleep. Just sorry, babe. The planes stay on the ceiling during sex.
No, like it's like they're spinning and I'm just pew 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 cool plane, see missile bang.
God, you would never get to sleep, John. Never. The ADD wouldn't allow you to. Ugh. Let's see. I think that was it for miscellaneous games.
Yeah. There's more in miscellaneous. A lot of it's just like out there.
Yeah, I will say like there's a book they showed us called Steel Tread, which is about a tank squad in a demolisher tank trying to survive a war zone. I'm interested just because I like tanks, but
yeah, you're just a tank guy.
I just think tanks are cool, but nothing that I think is huge. However, there is some big stuff for the 2 big games that are sort of Warhammer's powerhouses. So obviously, They have Games Workshop has a number of like board games and smaller games like Warcry and Kill Team and Warhammer Underworlds and Aeronautica Imperialis. But their two largest games are, of course, Warhammer 40k and Age of Sigmar, which are just titans in the miniature wargaming hobby. And we think we'll go ahead and hop into 40k first. So there weren't a ton of reveals for 40k. This is definitely more of an AOS focused week, but just a note on that. That spotlight gets passed back and forth. You know, like John and I were kind of poking around the community over the past week, and there were some people who were a little upset that like, oh, I wanted more 40k. But like, y'all.
Why didn't I get squats?
Well, John, I want squats. Why didn't I get squats? But y'all, last year was almost entirely 40k. Like, this is just how this works. When there's a new edition coming for for one of the games, they get the spotlight. So last year, from like March through January of this year, it was 40k all day, every day. It was all of the Primaris Space Marines. It was all of their new models. It was all the new Necrons. It was the Indomitus box. It was the codexes that came with it. The new 9th edition rulebook. And then codex upon codex upon codex. And it just kept coming. And Warzone books on top of that. Like, it was 40k all day, every day. And
that's not going to stop this year at all either.
Like, there will be more 40k stuff coming. But they do have another game that they need to promote. So now you're probably going to start seeing a lot of attention on Age of Sigmar because of what we're going to get into in the AOS section. So there was a little less. But don't you worry. There's stuff coming for you 40k diehards. They did reveal the final Sisters model, which means they have now shown us all of the Sisters of Battle that are coming out in the new codex. They are fully revealed. We know what all is coming in the book, and that codex should be going up for pre-order here sometime in the near future, along with all of the new models. And
it is likely like the end of the releases for Sisters. Like it looks like with the new codex release, like the Sisters range has officially been like fully released. That's what it appears to be.
They rebuilt all of the old models and added new stuff. Like, I think the Sisters are going to be in a very cool and healthy place for quite a while. Kind of like they did with Death Guard when 8th edition dropped. Like, they just redid that whole line, and now they've been good since. So I hope Sisters have that same level of longevity. They also showed that there will be a new upgrade sprue for Cadian Shock Troopers, which are like the little foot soldiers for Imperial Guard, which gives some new arms and some new heads to better customize those models, because they're older kits. However, the chests and feet looked alright, so the upgrade kit allows you to replace the arms and the heads, which were sort of the worst part of the kit that showed its age. So you'll be able to sort of customize your Cadian shock troops if that's something you're into, which is cool.
And as someone who's put together like Cadians, it's not too hard to just pop the arms off and pop the heads off and just replace them if you already have the kits. So
yeah, it's a pair of clippers will get those off in a jiff.
I don't even think you need a pair of clippers, to be honest. Like,
well, that depends on what you glue things together with. If you glue them together with super glue, you can pop them off. If you fuse them together with plastic glue,
yeah, it's going to be a little more hard.
Yeah. So that's a thing. That's cool. It could herald some more Imperial Guard stuff coming, maybe whenever that codex gets here. We'll see.
I'll venture to say that will happen sometime this year.
I hope so. Really hope so. I think a little bit will go a long way with that particular faction. And then, the best part of this 40k reveal. Oh.
The Plastic Thunderhawk for Aeronautica Imperialis?
No, you get. It's the orcs.
Hot Orc Summer.
Yes, Hot Orc Summer continues indeed. So we got the video a month or two back about the what do they call Oh, the beast Nagas, which are kind of more feral-ish orcs who are all about hunting squigs and the biggest monsters. And they said that there were going to be more models coming for the Beast Nagas. And this week they showed off the new Beast Naga models for orcs, which are just, they're gorgeous.
They're more than just feral orcs, too. Like, they are techno-barbarians.
They are. It's very Horizon Zero Dawn meets orcs. And that's a hell of a flavor. That is a flavor I'm into. And they're super flavorful. They're beautiful models. And also, so people, you have to go to the day 5 sort of, what are the John word article. Jesus, I just had a stronk call the Bondulance. You have to go to the day 5 article because there is a video at the top called Saddle Up with the Boys that may be the funniest, best video that Warhammer has ever released.
We're gonna run it down. We're gonna run it down from the side.
It is a video narrated by not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different orcs with 4 different strategies, and it is just delightful. And the new
I like to think of it as the internal monologue of a specific, like it's just one orc, but he's having internal monologue with himself.
Yes.
Perfect. Just amazing.
So they showed off the Beast Naga boys, which we already saw one of, but they showed us the rest of them. Which I'm kind of interested on exactly what role they'll fill in the army. Are they like a replacement for orc boys or what they're going to do? But I'm interested. They look gorgeous. They also
My bet is that those boys are a step above regular orc boys. Like orc boys will still have a place. And they're not quite knobs, so they're not going to take up an elite choice. They'll take up a troop slot, and you'll bring probably about as half as many of those as you would regular boys, and they can fill a troop slot so that people aren't forced to bring 90 boys in every game. That you'll probably still bring a big block of 30 boys, but you'll probably also bring some of these like Beast Naga boys as like a 10-man squad, because they're in a box set, so they have to be troops. Like there's no way they're not troops. So they're probably just like, I think they're 2 wounds. I think that they're just beefier boys that cost more, and you bring... It makes orcs less of a straight just horde faction.
I really hope that's the case, because I do not want to have to paint a bajillion boys. So they showed those off. They showed off... well, we already saw the Squig Hog Riders, which are gorgeous, but they showed those again. And then also a new HQ that is... sort of like a war boss riding not a squig hog, but a ferocious smash-a-squig, which is a squig with a metal, like a squig biped thing that has a metal plate on its head that is meant for ramming the enemy over and over and over. It looks gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
They did there's an old orc character that they've brought back, and he has a new model.
Yeah,
that's great.
Zodgrod Wartsnaka, who got a new model. And all of that is going to be bundled together in a box set that is going to be released, called the Beast Naga Orcs Army Set, and it's going to have the new Orc Codex in it, and that will be going up for sale here. Well, they didn't give a time, but they just said the near future. So if you're into orcs, you can grab that box set if you want to add some more feral orcs to your collection. However...
And you can fight Joe as he tries to do the same.
Yes, because I will. And we must fist fight in the parking lot, and if you win, I become an orc boy, and I just follow you around, and now you're the boss. Them's the rules. I don't get to make anything different. That is how it is. That's the culture. However, they also told us that all of that is only half of the orcs that they're going to be releasing.
And you missed talking about Mega Armor Boss War
That's
Boss.
where I'm getting to, John. I'm a pro podcaster. Well, I'm transitioning, John. I am transitioning. Jonathan.
It's called a segue.
And the first part of the second half was revealed. And it's not a Beast Naga. It's not like a more feral orc. it looks like, your big mechanical war boss, and it is a war boss in mech armor. So it's a very heavily armored war boss with a giant two-handed chainsaw axe, and on his back there's a heavy machine gun with a grot firing it off of him. And apparently there will be more orc stuff coming of the more mechanical variety, hopefully in the new Orc Codex. I did not consider this potential possibility, but our editor Seth mentioned that he had a concern that he is really hoping that all of the new Orc kits will be in the new Orc Codex rather than spread out amongst Warzone books. And I didn't consider that, but I also really, really hope they just put it all in the Codex.
I don't think that would be the case. I think that they're much more likely to drop all of those models just like they did with Necrons in the new Orc book. I think the most you'll see in the Warzone books is what we've seen already, which is Army of Renowned, like supplementary rules and like sub-faction rules to bring those things in with like extra rules, not like the actual data sheets. Don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, I really hope it's just all in the Codex and it all goes up for pre-order at the same time and you can just buy it at your leisure. And
based off of having the actual
content.
Orc Codex in the starter box for Orcs, I don't see them doing anything else besides that. Because why would they sell the box of Beast Nagas with the Codex? The Beast Nagas weren't in the book.
Well, I think the Beast Nagas will be in, but Seth specifically mentioned, will the mechanical stuff be in that they haven't revealed? And I'm going to pull for yes, because if the answer is no, that's going to be upsetting.
Well, like that Orc War Boss, like the Orc Mega Boss, he's already in the Codex. Like, there just wasn't a model for him. Yeah. If I remember correctly.
I don't know my Orcish model history because some of that stuff has come and gone so many times.
Yeah, like I think that you'll see a lot of stuff coming in. I also think a lot of the new Orc releases we're going to see aren't going to be necessarily new stuff. I think the Beast Naga stuff's the new stuff. But I think it's going to be like, hey, here's a new Tank Busters kit. Here's a new, like, what are they, Ludas. Like, updating some of the older stuff that's kind of crappy looking now.
Maybe a new Orc Boy kit would be pretty sick.
I don't think they do that. That'd be wild.
That would be wild. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. And also, so all of that's very exciting for Orc players. But as we were sort of looking around in like Facebook community posts, there were again some people going, but what about the Eldar? Y'all, I just want to say, as the resident Tyranid player who doesn't get releases,
as the Tau player who just can't really play 9th edition right now,
like the fact that Orcs are getting so many new kits and that Necrons got entirely overhauled all within the same edition and we're still going, very, very hopeful. That's nothing but good for us. That's nothing but good. Especially because in all of these reveals, there wasn't a Space Marine in sight.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. There isn't a single Space Marine, no Primaris. Like, the only Imperium stuff you saw was Guard and Sisters, and they finished Sister stuff. So, like, they're going to have more Guard stuff in the future, I'm guessing, because they need Imperium stuff to sell alongside the Xeno stuff. But it's not going to be Space Marines. Like, maybe Grey Knights. Because we know Grey Knights and Thousand Sons are coming soon with a box set because they showed that in a trailer. But I think it's going to be GW investing in Xenos armies. Like,
I think this is good for you. Like, I know your stuff isn't, I know you're not an Orc player, but the fact that they're doing so much for Orcs means that they might do a whole lot for whatever your Xenos faction is as well. So I would maybe chill out a little and just bide your time.
Yeah, and I talked to some people on like Twitter about it, and like they were frustrated, but then like got it. Like they were like, yeah, that makes sense, and they agree. Like they're excited about it. It is a good time to be in 40K, and like it's okay to be frustrated and mad. Like it's kind of a shame it's taken this long for Eldar to even get anything, and it's still a maybe. Like, if they don't get it, we can just rage. Like, we can all collectively just scream.
We can all get together and lose our mind.
Because what the current range for Eldar is kind of atrocious. But, yeah, we we should see stuff in the future for it. They're a publicly traded company. They need to keep making profits. The best way to make profits is selling entire new ranges of models. We should just benefit from that. That'll be great.
Yeah, so I would say for people out there, just to hold the line. You'll be all right. Just hang in there. We got you. It's okay.
We'll be getting toys. It'll be great. We'll talk about your toys when they get announced.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to try to keep the positivity up. I mean, like, some people are negative and they have, like, really valid points, and I can't do anything about it because they have that persnickety, difficult trait of being, what's the word, right? And it's really difficult to kind of raise people up there. But some of the stuff, I think, we can look at it positively instead, and when you have the option to be a little more glass half full, I choose to do so. And we try to push that here on the podcast. And
yeah.
Now, some of this stuff you have to look at rather closely to be glass half full. But now we're going to go into AOS, and there is no squinting needed. It's all wins, baby!
For you, maybe.
Yeah, for me, we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm only happy. They showed off a whole lot of AOS this week. And this is probably going to be a good chunk of what we're going to talk about, because there is a lot coming. There have been all sorts of rumors abound about what was going to be showed, and a lot of it turned out to be dead on. And not to toot our own horn, but even John and I were correct about what was kind of shown off. So,
to be fair, it wasn't hard.
It was the worst kept secret, but it's still a win. We take those.
I don't think there was very many people who didn't guess this.
Yeah. So first up, they showed us the final book in the Broken Realms saga that we've been talking about. Again, our Be'lakor summary will be out next week. But it's going to be the final book in the Broken Realms narrative, getting the Broken Realms ready and progressed for Aegis Sigmar 3rd edition, which we'll get to in just a second. And obviously the book Kragnos is named after a new god beast who is, a destruction god, called
the greatest Beast of Chaos model they've ever released, and it's not for the army. Low-key a little mad about it.
They revealed that in Broken Realms Kragnos, the god beast of destruction, will be getting a new model. And it's beautiful. He's this huge centaur-looking creature with a giant hammer that is old and sort of weird-looking from a society that I can't place, and a colossal shield that apparently was strong enough to break the tooth of Gork. And, these giant swoop-back craggy horns that he is sort of the spirit of the earthquake embodied. And he has awoken from underneath the mountain he was sealed under, and he is now, mustering destruction to go accomplish a goal. And they told us that Kragnos, the model, is going to be able to be taken in any destruction faction, as sort of kind of like Gotrek as a big ally, and you could play him alongside your stuff, and he will give different bonuses, and he's going to be a huge combat monster, and that's all cool. It's all cool.
It actually really fits destruction. Like the stuff we know of Kragnos, it all fits destruction really well. It's just aesthetically, he looks like a Centaur or like something that would really fit in with Beasts of Chaos, because Beasts of Chaos ultimately as a faction really kind of fit the destruction mold aesthetically. So it's
yeah, there's overlap there, and he's gonna be sort of a new mover and shaker in the mortal realms from here on out, and I'm really interested to see what he does.
Get it? Because he's the god of earthquakes. Movers and shakers.
You're welcome. I'll be here all week.
That was unintentional, and you know it.
Yeah, I wish I could claim it. So, moving on to the next piece that I am the most excited about. As we expected, they showed off the rest of Soulblight Grave Lords.
I don't care what your opinion is, Joe. Like, I actually do, because I love you to death, and I'm really excited that you get to play your vampire factions. The best model is Granny Vampire.
Oh my god, Babushka Vampire. Yes, Yes.
the babushka,
Yes.
grandma vampire.
Uh, they showed off the rest of the faction, as we all expected they would, and there were a couple of new models that we did not see coming. Just didn't. Simply didn't. So they showed off a new centerpiece, which has the community in a tizzy. It is a sort of centaur-looking vampire that's quadrupedal with these giant atrophied bat wings in the front and a huge abomination body, and then up towards sort of like where the head would be on sort of like a horse sort of creature. That's where the torso starts for a huge vampire, and it's like vampire torso there covered in armor. And I think it looks awesome. Gorgeous, sort of otherworldly, monstrous, and sickening. However, there are some people who are absolutely raging over this model. I mean, in the AOS groups I'm a part of, I saw like 8 posts a day of people going, "Isn't this model bad?" And to those people, I say, I'm glad that you don't want to play the faction now, because I don't want to fight you for models, and I love it. So
I think it's fantastic. I won't play the faction because like you and like our friend Gorwin are gonna be playing the faction, and I just don't feel like being the third guy trying to collect this faction. And there's other AOS stuff I want to play, but and we'll get into that. Like I've kind of made up my mind, Joe. But it's great. Like the new vampire model looks amazing. I love the whole new range of vampires, and I do love that they're different than just normal gothic vampires.
yeah, I think a lot of people just wanted like pretty vampires on horses and stuff, and y'all, this is not that. If you have played Vampire the Masquerade,
I was just about to say it.
this is a Gangrel release. This is Gangrel and Nosferatu. All you Ventures and Toreadors, get out. This is not for you.
You had your time in the 90s.
Yeah, sorry, you had Interview with the Vampire. It's time to leave.
You can take Anne Rice with you.
Yeah, so we had like the Vengorian Lord, which is the new centerpiece, and then we got a new Radikar model. The big, like, beefy Russian-looking vampire and Curse City. Apparently, the rumors of his death are vastly over-exaggerated. And he did not die. He was cast out of the city, but is not dead. And he is now back as a giant, power-lifting, monstrous vampire. And he is going to be an HQ choice in the new book, and he just looks sick. So big, so beefy. What a lad.
Spoiler warning for all you folks who haven't gotten to play and probably won't get to play Curse City, but you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think his model just looks stunning. I love the Gangrel sort of like animalistic vampire archetype, so I'm all in on this. Give me more of it. I was losing my mind. And then we get to what might be the best looking model in the little reveal. Belladama Volga, first of the Virkos. However, as John and I will forever call her, Vampiric Babushka.
Yeah.
She's an older woman with like this big fur-mantled coat on top of a giant wolf with another giant wolf underneath that giant wolf. And like she's riding this wolf side saddle, and where her like boots would be on her feet, she actually just has kind of like wolf feet, sort of digitigrade. And I love it. I love it so much. And
she's probably like a buff hero for the new Direwolves. Like the new undead
that's
wolves.
the next. I think the last thing that they revealed was that there's going to be a new Direwolves kit with like undead wolves. Yeah, and I'm with you, John. I bet she's gonna buff those in some way to make them really interesting. And I can't wait to see that synergy. And overall, like I love the Soulblight Gravelord's army. I know it is too weird for some people, and I get it. I totally understand. But not for me. I love, like, some people have kind of tried to dunk on it by going like, this is just Castlevania, the army. Or this is just Spirit Halloween, the army. And like, yeah, I know. That's why I want it.
But it's blending werewolves and vampires, and I don't like that. Listen, I love mashed potatoes and peas together, so I'm here for it.
This is only better. This is only better. Give me that. Give me my
it's
giant bats and my dire wolves and my grandma vampire werewolf babushka. Just give it all to me.
Yeah, like it's a very interesting and different flavor. It's very weird. It's very unique to AOS, and I think that's important, especially as we know they are releasing AOS, like the old world. Like they're going to re-release the old world. So if you really like the old vampires, that will be coming out in another form for that game. It is important that the AOS stuff is separate aesthetically, and I think this is good for that.
Oh yeah. As we have mentioned before, like I've talked about this before, everybody has kind of joked about how like the AOS sculptors are just going nuts on some of these models, and that like the running joke in our friend group is that there has got to be some goblin chained in the basement of Games Workshop's design studio that they feed nothing but pixie sticks and cocaine day in and day out, and he just designs these incredible crazy sculpts. These look like they are from that goblin, and I support his work entirely. Someone please link me his Patreon. I will support him all day, every day. I will be a top tier supporter, and I hope we keep getting these weird sculpts for every faction. I love it. I absolutely love it. And it was a great way for me to get really hyped. And I don't know when this stuff is coming out exactly. Again, with everything else, all they're saying is in the near future, because again, it's COVID. Shipping timelines are very tentative right now. But hopefully we'll get these for pre-order maybe before the end of the month, maybe early in June, who knows. But it's coming, and now they have shown off the entirety of the line. So that's cool. That's a thing that we have put to bed, which is super helpful because for Saturday's reveal, they dropped the whammy on us, the biggin, if you will. They showed us information about Age of Sigmar 3rd edition.
Yeah, and they talked about like vague rule stuff. They showed off some new art. They talked about like where the setting's going. I think there's a lot of space there. We'll get into it a little bit. But
yeah, Joe, and they even showed us some new Stormcast models.
Yeah, which we'll talk about at the end of the episode because there's some spoilers. We'll let you know before.
In the non-spoiler bit, they showed us some new Stormcast stuff. One is a new hero, which is a Stormcast woman with like a spear and a sword and huge sort of angelic wings on top of like a swamp sort of base. Gorgeous model. Gorgeous. I love the wing sculpt. Sort of like encompassing her almost angelically. Beautiful composition for a model. Absolutely stunning. I can't wait to see it show up in paint competitions.
That model and the new Stormcast they're showing may have gotten me to be a guy who wants to play Stormcast now.
Yeah, they also showed off, along with her, a new Stormcast foot unit, it's sort of like the basic infantry, like Retributors.
Yeah.
However, they have a spear in one hand, and their shield is kind of smaller with a slot for the spear. It reminded me of Achilles and the Myrmidons from Myth, sort of that Greek styling with the little slots so you could stab forward when in a shield wall.
I'm a sucker for a spear.
Me too. It's my favorite weapon, and it gets no love. Yeah, great little foot troop. And they also showed off something called an Annihilator, which is a new type of paladin that has a giant shield, like round shield, and
he's a beefy lad too.
Huge hammer. And from what they have told us, it has a 2-up armor save and hits like a truck. So those are gonna be something.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the Terminator equivalent in Stormcast to 40k. Like, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, although a 2-up save in AOS is infinitely more rare than in 40k, so that is a colossal deal.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. They also talked about the new edition, and they talked about some of the gameplay designs that they're trying to do with it. And largely, they tried to make the base words very clear, as they put it, so that there could be no sort of misinterpretation of the rules. I think that's a little hopeful, but I like that they're that confident. It shows that they put a lot of time into it. They also talked about how they They want the game to be more reactive and interactive as the turns go on. I think, we have all experienced a moment where we go, all right, it's my opponent's shooting phase. I guess I'm just going to go get a beer. I'll be back. Tell me when you're done. Or, all right, it's your magic phase. I have nothing I can do with any of it. I'm going to hit the restroom. I'll be back. And you kind of just sit there for long portions of time, not really doing anything other than watching. And I guess they're going to try to do something about that, which is really cool for me, because one of the things I like the most about Malifaux is that I was always engaged, even on my opponent's turn, and I would love for that to kind of pull its way into Age of Sigmar a little bit.
Yeah, it'll probably never be as intense as something like Infinity, but any small amount helps.
Oh yeah, anything to kind of break up that turn time is just gorgeous. They also teased a new faction that will be going toe-to-toe with the new Stormcast in a box set, as they do at the beginning of every edition. But I have no idea what it is. So, John, walk me through it, because I'm entirely ignorant.
I, and many other people on the internet directly afterwards, went Famir. Famir are a copyrighted creature kind of thing for old fantasy. They're like one-eyed swamp creatures. They're like a mixture between like a troll and some other stuff. And in old fantasy, they're we're in fens and swamps and stuff. So I feel like that's where it's gonna go. And based off of the way that the trailer kind of has that creepy Grim Fairy Tales vibe to it a little bit, there's a rhyme in it, that kind of stuff. I think a Grim Fairy Tales troll Famir thing would be really cool, bog witches,
or maybe a fae thing.
Bog witch Famir would be super cool.
Yeah, I don't know nearly enough to have an opinion on it, but I would be cool if that's it.
And I'm willing to bet that we know at least a handful of people that if we went, there's a Bog Witch faction in AOS, they'd go, what? You mean there's a Bog Witch faction?
My wife would immediatee go,
I didn't want to say it, but
tell
I know
me
that
more.
Your wife would go, Joe, you need to buy me the Joe. The Bog Witches.
If that was how she sounded, I'd be a much less happy man.
Brittany. I think Brittany would also play it personally.
Yes, I think they would be Bog Witch friends, and they would play it for all eternity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that's it, because she will be in hook, line, and sinker, and it would just be super fun. And I feel like we don't have a whole lot of a fae theme running throughout Warhammer. So any more we can add that in, I'd be game. So now, for folks out there, we're going to have a brief discussion here at the end of the episode that is going to involve some spoilers for Broken Realms Be'lakor, because they gave us some information about what caused these new Stormcasts to be created, why they were made, how they were made, and what their job is in the Mortal Realms. And there's no way we can talk about it without spoiling Broken Realms Be'lakor. So for people out there, if you do not want Broken Realms Be'lakor spoiled, maybe you're reading it yourself, or maybe you're waiting for our video next week to tell you about it. I totally understand. There's no hard feelings. Feel free, stop here, and go ahead and move on past the episode. We totally get it. I hope y'all have a great one. For people who maybe already read it, or they just don't care about spoilers, now we're going to get into sort of the narrative. So again, final warning for spoilers. All right.
Okay.
So for people out there, in the final bit of Broken Realms Be'lakor, a huge play was made by the first Demon Prince, where through a long scheme that was centuries in the making, he caused chaos, pure chaos, to creep into the realms and begin spewing forth out of some of the realm gates and covering the skies with this inky miasma that started to spread. That was chaos incarnate, with faces leering out of the smoke and the clouds, spreading across the realms.
And I'm pretty sure that like the art for that they're showing off with the new Stormcast character of her like cutting through the like big cloud of like warp tentacles and everything else. I believe that's what they're calling as the Chaos Waste Warp Storm stuff.
Yeah, I think so also. That's how I pictured it. Like a writhing mass of like oil slick meat and chaos.
Yeah.
And at the end of Broken Realms Be'lakor, what this did was that when Stormcast died underneath it, they couldn't shoot back to his ear. Normally when a Stormcast dies, their soul becomes lightning and they fly back to the Realm of Heavens to be remade in a new body and sent back into the fray. But here, when the lightning tried to pierce through the clouds, it was torn apart, and they died permanently. A whole storm host died this way, and a second one almost died, and so did a third. So what they told us in the reveal show was that these new Stormcast are more acutely linked to the Realm of Heaven, so that when they die, they could pierce their way through this miasma and make it back to the Realm of Heavens. Well, unlike the other Stormcast, who will be unable to return home.
And they also kind of like leaked about some stuff about Grugni, and that Grugni helped create this new armor that they're wearing that helps anchor them and like make them more powerful. Like that's what the lightning strike armor is, and he helped create it. Like that's what they were talking about, and that's got some ramifications that I'm sure we'll find out about in the next Broken Realms book that we don't know. So
yeah, there was a piece where Grugni showed up in Broken Realms Be'lakor, which was incredible. So I guess he's out and about and moving in the setting. He's doing stuff. He's helping Sigmar to try to retake the realms. I will say, like, I'm really hoping that there's more information to like what is going on here. Because the way they described it was just, yeah, they are Stormcast that can return home regardless of the Chaos Waste. And if that's it, I'm a little underwhelmed.
So here's my theory, right? And that is because they also talked about that even that isn't always successful. It's just you're more likely to be successful through this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they actually, like, when they shoot out of their armor, they have to fight through the cloud. And I think that it's going to cause, like, you know how there's the reforging process of, like, it makes you more, like you lose more of your personality. I think that it's going to create, like, it's going to worsen some effect. Like, there's going to be a secondary problem by continuing to do this to make it to where, like, why not every Stormcast is going to have it and why it's dire. And this is, like, the vanguard.
I hope, because I would hate for this to just be, like, Primaris Stormcast.
Yes.
Which is what it sounded like from the preview. I'm sure they were being tight-lipped to not reveal too much. So I'm hoping that there's more in the books, but for currently, I'm a little nervous.
I think
because I really don't want it to be like Be'lakor finally got a win after thousands of years of planning and many, many years of a narrative, and then immediately the gods go, we just shoot through the cloud. It's fine.
So I've got a couple of theories, and that is like that we're going to see a lot more stuff in Broken Realms, Kragnos. Personally, I think Broken Realms Kragnos is kind of going to put a cap on AOS and a time frame, and then when we go into AOS 3, we're going to have a time skip. And with the time skip, we're going to start seeing, like, this is what Grugni and Sigmar have gotten up to answer as Stormcast. The realms have kind of become a little bit more hectic because not only is destruction on the rise and death is waning and kind of have infighting, but also chaos. These chaos storms are all over the place, so it's a whole new type of, like, endeavor they're going to have to go out to, like, fix problems and do stuff. And I think that'll be neat if that's the case. Mm-hmm. I don't think that it's going to be these immediately afterwards, these Stormcast like were made. I think that the cost is going to be that they've lost ground. They've lost footing.
I hope so. I think a time skip would be neat. I don't think we've done that yet. But we know kind of so far that in Broken Realms Kragnos that the goal is going to be to siege Excelsius to break open the gate to Azir. So I hope that that's a thing that is like one and done. I really do not want a Siege of Terra 2 where we like fight over the Golden City, not in space, but in another realm. I hope that like Kragnos smashes the door open and goes, "Well, I succeeded, bye," and like leaves to go smash other doors.
I hope that destruction takes over the entire realm of beasts, and the realm of beasts is just now in destruction's hands. Like there's no,
it is
there is
there
no
8
city.
points.
Yeah, like Shyish is basically that for death. The 8 points is that for chaos. Like have something like that for destruction.
Yeah, that this is their territory, and going there is, you know, you don't go there unless you're ready for a scrap.
Yeah.
And I think that would also be a good setting for destruction to start making some cities and to have some agency, because that's what I really want out of AOS 3. Like, I love destruction, but so far, destruction, they don't have characters. Like, it's just, they are used as a very simple villain to go, oh, yeah, destruction's here. They destroyed that town. Moving back to our heroes. Like,
Yeah.
one of the things that 40k does well is that when an antagonist like that shows up, they're really good at kind of putting you in the mind of the antagonist and explaining why they're here, what their goals are, what are they looking to get out of it, how their battle strategies work, how that ties into their culture as a whole. They probably give you a couple of characters that you could follow with it, whether that be, you know, a Chaos Space Marine Legion, whether that's like Eldar, Dark Eldar, Tau, you know, Necrons. They're really, really good at personifying the antagonists for the Imperium, and I feel like Aegis Sigmar struggles with that terribly. Like, there are a couple destruction named heroes, but they just don't get anything.
And even with like orcs in 40k, like the big force of destruction in 40k, they're a significant problem, and they show it through like the narrative in different ways. Like the orcs are the second most populous threat to the Imperium, and the first being the Imperium. Like they love to say it's chaos and heretics and all other stuff, but it's mostly like the Imperium makes a lot of its own problems and causes rebellions and like chaos traders and all this other stuff. But it's kind of like it's humans fighting humans.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest threat to the galaxy as a whole, other than Tyranids, like as an existential threat, is orcs, because orcs don't ever go away. They always come back. They're fighting everywhere. Every faction fights orcs at some point. Like.
Well, and you can't break them on morale. Like, what are you going to do? Cut off their supply lines? Whatever.
Yeah,
like,
they just
they'll
keep
just
coming.
smash the metal together, and now that metal's a gun.
And like the orcs were a problem for the Big E. Like he was a problem for the Emperor back in the Great Crusade. Like it, and they're still around. Like the orcs are really well done, in my opinion, in 40k, and they're still comical. Like they still are comic relief. They're still like also a terrifying enemy when you conceptually. And the stakes are still high with them, and they're a great antagonist, and they're honestly one of the best parts of 40k.
Well,
and it's
also,
kind of a shame it's not like that for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, and I think also the key there is like Mag Orog Thraka, like Gordrak, is a character with ambitions and goals and like people who are his rivals. And you can tell stories around him, and they do. But for Age of Sigmar, we just don't have that. Like, we have Gordrak, the Fist of Gork, who is a named orc, who is supposed to be, like, the head of this Wa, who is Gork incarnate. But I couldn't tell you what his voice sounds like. I couldn't tell you what his goal is beyond fight stuff. I couldn't tell you who his nemesis are, or how he, like, rose up through the ranks. Like, I can't tell you any of that. Same thing also for like Skarsnik, who is not Skarsnik, the Loon King for Goblins. Like, he's a named character. I can't tell you much beyond he wants to know where the moon is, and he brings goblins to destroy stuff.
And you kind of see that problem among a lot of the AOS characters in general, because you've got gods doing god stuff, and then you've got lower characters. And so the stuff the lower characters are doing don't really interact with the god stuff too much. So it doesn't feel right. Now I'm hoping Kragnos kind of changes that, because like, is this Loon King going to stand up to Teclis? No. Is he going to stand up to Sigmar? No. Kragnos, though, I really want to see Kragnos just like suplex Teclis. Just take Teclis, suplex the book nerd. Like, it'd be great.
But what I do think, like, that they've done really well is over time, they have given a number of Order heroes sort of characters and motivations that, like, isn't going up against directly the Chaos Gods, but just being a pain in their ass. You know, running around and taking on their followers little bits at a time. And they give that little group some character. And then they did the same thing for Death and, like, giving all of his Mortarchs some character and motivations and personalities. And now they are more fleshed out. And I'm hoping that now it is Destruction's turn to get the same treatment and they become more complex narratively, not just like mechanically. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I would love to see some books following them to like tell us Gordrak's motivation and what he's doing. To tell us the Loon King's motivation, to like give us a named ogre and follow what they're doing. Like I want more of that.
I'm a simple man. I want to see Godric and Kraknos fist fight while they're surrounded by Skaven. That's all I want. Like I
want to see who wins. Although I still am waiting for Gotrek to go give Nagash a swirly and like bounce his head off the floor like a basketball until Nagash gives him back Felix.
Well, like, Nagash, like, recovers from the thrashing he gets from Teclis. He just wakes up and goes, I need coffee. I've been dunked on. And he looks over and he sees Godric sitting there. He goes, hey, I got a steaming cup of something for you. And then just kicks the shit. Nagash, where's Felix? Where's my boy? Show me where my boy is. And Nagash goes, fine, I'll give you your boy, but stop. Leave me alone.
I just want Gotrek to, like, take Nagash to the top ropes and throw him off over and over until the manling is given back to him. That's what I want. Or maybe we'll find out that, like, Felix was made a Stormcast Eternal. That would be sick. Tell me more. Yeah, there are a couple of narrative threads I'm going to be looking for in AOS 3 as it unfolds, and I'm interested. I'm excited. I want to know what this new faction is, and overall, I think it is a good time to release it in terms of the game. I just really hope that the production issues are solved before it comes out, or, oh boy, it's going to be hard to fulfill all those orders.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because those new Stormcast, probably going to sell like hotcakes. Let's assume
I want
that yeah, you want them? Like, let's assume the new Destruction faction is equally enticing. We don't know what it is yet, but let's assume it's equally great. They're going to sell like hotcakes. So you're going to have those two individual orders flying in. And the box set's going to be out. And if both of the factions are enticing, not only will like the individual boxes be ordered like crazy, but so will the box sets. And recently, they haven't been able to keep up with the box set demands.
Yeah.
So I see a potential storm on the horizon logistically, and I hope that that's not the case. But I guess only time will tell.
If the new box set is Bog Witches versus Stormcast Eternal Warrior Lady and Spear Dudes, I'm down. I'm just going to say that now. We should just buy that box. Because you know Amanda will want it, and I want to paint Angel Lady and have Stormcast Spear Dudes.
We will see. We will see if your Famir prediction is correct. And when we do know, don't you worry, y'all. We'll release videos, keeping everybody up to date.
Yeah.
There will be many talks of AOS 3 as we get closer to its release, probably late in the summer. And they're going to be drip feeding sort of releases and hints as we go along. And for everybody else, like, I want to thank y'all for sticking with us for an hour and 10 minutes. I know this has been a bit of a long one, but it was 6 days that we condensed down into a single hour of talking. So I'm hoping it was helpful for everybody who didn't get to keep up with all of the releases and all of the live streams that they did every day, to give you just a little bit of context around these things that are releasing. And as we hear about more stuff, we'll try to keep people in the loop, and we'll keep the content coming. As we've mentioned a few times, Broken Realms Bellicor going to be up next week, Monday, 6 a.m. And whenever Broken Realm Kragnos comes out, people seem to really, really enjoy our Broken Realm summaries. So we'll do that one also. We'll try to get it up as quick as we can after it releases. We're a smaller channel, so we don't get anything early. Maybe in the future, if we get a little bigger, that might be possible. So we'll have to wait to get the book when all of y'all do, but we'll read it as fast as possible and try to get a video up for you.
And if you'd like to give us support, you can like, subscribe, message us on Twitter, follow us on Twitter,
Instagram,
all that fun
also.
stuff.
We are on the social medias. Show it to your friends also. At a channel of our size, just a little bit of organic growth is always great. And we appreciate y'all doing what you do for us. It makes this fun. But for now, that's been all of our opinions. Bona fide and Kentucky Fried. We'll see y'all next time.